Have you ever wondered how scientists study nature or how vast amounts of pollution can affect our world? In this video, we'll explore how scientists estimate populations, why every species matters, and what we can do to fight pollution. Let's start with population density. This is just a fancy way of saying how many individuals live in a specific space, whether it's a patch of forest, a coral reef, or a pond. But populations don't grow endlessly. There are limits. Things like food, water, predators, diseases, and even shelter play a big role in keeping populations in check. Now, when organisms move into a population, it's called immigration, and when they move out, it's called emigration. Simple, right? To figure out population sizes without counting every single organism, scientists use sampling. This means studying a small portion of the area and then making educated estimates. One of the tools they use is the quadrat. Imagine a square frame placed on the ground. Scientists count the organisms inside that square and then use a formula to estimate the total population. This is super handy for plants or slow-moving creatures like snails. Another method is the belt transect, where a line is drawn across the study area and quadrats are placed at intervals along it. This helps scientists see how populations change across different parts of a habitat. Maybe there are more crabs near the shoreline and fewer as you move inland. But what about animals that move quickly or cover large areas? That's where the capture-mark-recapture method shines. Here's how it works. Scientists capture some animals, tag them, and then release them back. Later, they capture another group and check how many are tagged. With a little math, they can estimate the total population. For bigger animals like birds or whales, observation and counts are more practical. Tools like binoculars, microscopes, or even scuba gear come in handy. And for tracking animals over time, satellite tags can be used. Think of it like a GPS for wildlife. For smaller critters, traps are the way to go. Pitfall traps, for instance, are little containers placed in the ground to catch insects or invertebrates that fall in. Nets are great for flying insects, while fish traps are perfect for studying aquatic species. Now, let's dive into something that makes our planet so wonderfully unique: biodiversity. It's the incredible variety of traits and life forms you find in every corner of an ecosystem, from the tiniest bacteria to the tallest trees. Why is biodiversity so important? Well, it's like nature's all-in-one toolkit. It gives us a variety of products like food, medicine, and even fibers for clothing. It also helps keep the environment in check by regulating air quality, enriching the soil, and even keeping pests under control. Plus, it's a goldmine for economic and social benefits, fueling industries, scientific research, and even outdoor recreation. But biodiversity faces threats, and these can come from natural causes like predation, disease, or even climate changes. However, human activities pose the biggest challenges. Think habitat destruction, pollution, invasive species, and yes, climate change. To protect biodiversity, we need conservation. This means preserving, restoring, and managing our natural resources. By enforcing laws, spreading awareness, managing protected areas, reducing pollution, and regulating invasive species. Speaking of invasive species, these are like nature's uninvited guests. They're non-native organisms, like the lionfish or the Brazilian pepper tree, that outcompete local species for resources, disrupting ecosystems. Often introduced by humans, they grow faster, feed on native species, or take up all the space, leaving local biodiversity struggling to survive. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest challenges of our time: climate change. It's the long-term shift in global climate patterns, and it's changing everything. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that traps heat in our atmosphere thanks to gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. While it's necessary to keep the planet warm enough for life, human activities like burning fossil fuels, farming, and waste decomposition have caused these gases to build up, amplifying the effect. And the impacts? They're huge. We're talking about global warming, rising sea levels, extinctions, and more intense weather events like storms and droughts. Freshwater resources are shrinking, coral bleaching is killing vibrant reefs, and ocean acidification is harming marine life. Climate change even brings new health concerns as warmer climates enable the spread of diseases. So what can we do? For starters, we can focus on mitigation. Things like conserving energy, switching to renewable energy sources, protecting natural habitats, and embracing environmentally friendly habits like the 5 rupees: refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, recycle. But we also need adaptation strategies. Think sustainable buildings, better disaster management, modern farming techniques, and most importantly, raising public awareness. Habitat destruction is another huge problem. Human activities like deforestation, dredging wetlands, and building on sand dunes are changing landscapes and wiping out ecosystems. But there's hope. Through sustainable development, we can meet growing demands while keeping environmental protection in mind. This means balancing what we take from nature with what we give back. Overexploitation of resources is another issue, taking more than nature can replenish. Overharvesting is like shopping from nature's pantry without letting it restock. We can combat this by respecting protected areas, enforcing hunting laws, and supporting conservation efforts. Now, let's tackle a topic that impacts all of us: pollution. It's when harmful substances are introduced into the environment, creating contaminants that disrupt natural ecosystems. At its core, a pollutant is any single element of pollution, usually waste materials in various forms. These pollutants can come from 2 main sources. Point sources are easy to identify and control. Think of a factory chimney spewing smoke. On the other hand, non-point sources are trickier to manage, like fertilizers washing off fields into rivers. Then there's the distinction between biodegradable substances, which microbes can break down quickly, and non-biodegradable substances, which stick around and harm ecosystems over time. Air pollution is often linked to greenhouse gases, and it brings with it a host of issues. Carbon dioxide isn't toxic by itself, but increased emissions amplify the greenhouse effect, leading to ocean acidification, coral bleaching, and even erosion of infrastructure due to carbonic acid in rain. Exhaust emissions like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides come from burning fossil fuels. These gases cause breathing problems and create acid rain, which damages vegetation. Smog is a mix of smoke and fog that blocks sunlight, hurts visibility, and affects photosynthesis. Photochemical smog, formed by sunlight reacting with pollutants, even has a brownish-gray tint. Chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, once used in refrigeration and aerosol cans, are now banned because they destroy the ozone layer, letting harmful UV rays through, which increase skin cancer and cataracts. Toxic fumes, like carbon monoxide, bind to hemoglobin in the blood, blocking oxygen. Dust and particles from construction and farming cause allergies and respiratory diseases. Land pollution comes from multiple sources. Chemicals, such as pesticides, seep into the soil, disrupting ecosystems. Solid waste takes up space, destroys habitats, and attracts disease-spreading pests. Some waste can even be repurposed, for example, turning old materials into artificial coral reefs to stimulate marine life. Containers from littering pose fire risks, destroy habitats, and harm wildlife. Solutions? The 3 Rs: reduce, reuse, recycle, cleanup drives, and stricter fines for littering. Biomedical waste like used syringes and bandages, if improperly disposed, spreads diseases. Proper incineration is crucial to prevent this. Water pollution has many culprits. Chemicals like phosphates and nitrates from pesticides cause eutrophication, an overgrowth of algae that turns water green, blocks sunlight, and depletes oxygen, killing aquatic life. Industrial waste introduces heavy metals like lead and mercury, which are toxic. Mercury exposure can lead to severe conditions like cerebral palsy. Oil spills devastate marine life by suffocating aquatic organisms, killing eggs, and hindering birds' ability to fly or retain heat. Oil also damages beaches, affecting tourism, and blocks light from reaching underwater plants. Cleaning up spills is expensive, but specialized hydrocarbon-clastic bacteria can help break down the oil. We can combat pollution in several ways. Switch to alternative energy sources like solar, wind, and hydro. Use energy-efficient appliances and vehicles. Practice the 3 Rs to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Pass and enforce laws that promote sustainability and fine littering offenders. Properly dispose of harmful materials at designated sites and encourage factories to reduce waste products. Thanks for joining us on this journey through ecological sampling, biodiversity, and pollution. Remember, understanding our environment is the first step toward protecting it. If you enjoyed this video, drop us a like and subscribe to our channel. Check out the rest of the videos in our biology series to learn more.